to go off half-cocked unless they're really provoked into doing that.
Yeah. And Larry, I wanted to ask you about this. There's reports that Iran was amassing special forces units near the Iraqi Kurdistan border. There has been, of course, military activities there for quite a long time throughout this war, where Iran has been hitting these forces. Some rumors that the U.S. and Israel may be trying to activate them in some kind of invasion scheme, especially since the last time we spoke, I asked you about whether these attacks were some cockamamie scheme to eventually take some kind of island. And then I'm wondering what you think the role then. I know the United States has been looking for a force for a long time, ever since before the February 28th strikes to cause instability inside of Iran. What do you make of these reports about the Iranian special forces amassing at the border against the Kurds?
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's accurate. United States and Britain had been working. The CIA, MI6, have been working with the Kurds, promoting them and arming them, equipping them, training them to go in and conduct an operation inside Iran for the express purpose of destabilizing Iran. But the Iranians are aware of it, and that's one of the reasons they've been bombing Kurdish positions. And frankly, the Kurds don't have enough forces to be able to penetrate and do any kind of significant damage. So it's just it's a fool's errand. As far as there is no viable ground option for the United States. If we deign to figure, number one, how are you going to get troops onto Karg Island? It's not going to be through a U.S. Navy landing craft because that'll get blown out of the water before it even gets up that far north in the Persian Gulf. So that means you have to drop them in by parachute, or you drop them in, you fly them in. Well, how many troops are you going to put in there? To secure Karg Island, you probably need about 2,000. And given that a C-130 can only carry 90 soldiers with full combat loads ready to jump out of a plane, just do the math. You're going to need over 22, 23 C-130s, or if they come up with a C-141, which has more capacity but not a lot more. You're still dealing with a lot of airplanes, and that's just what they jump in with. Then how do you resupply? And all of this assumes that Iran's going to do nothing. They'll sit there and watch this. They won't fire a drone. They won't fire a missile. Nonsense. And doing it right now in the summer, I've been there. I haven't been there in July and August or June, but I was there in May of 2026. And if the choice was going to gutter or hell, you'd prefer hell, because their idea you might at least find a cool spot to be tortured in. It was, it was blistering. It's pizza oven hot out there. Well, when you get that kind of heat, you're going to get, people dehydrated. So, and how do you keep them resupplied? No, this is madness, absolute madness. But, before we wrap up today, I do want to comment on this so-called assassination plot against Trump, because this has been staged, ginned up by the CIA, by DEA, with the full collaboration of Department of Justice. I'll come back and explain that, but I want to give Ray a chance to comment.
Yeah, Ray, to you, your comments.
Well, I've just been thinking about the Kurds and how they've always been the pawns of history. They want independence. They deserve independence. They were deprived of having independence a century ago or so. And the result is that any opportunity that presents itself that might have a chance of offering them independence, they seize on it. It's not going to work. Larry is quite right. It makes good sense for the Iranians to put some troops up there near the Kurdish area, just so they don't get any ideas. But the whole notion that Iran is going to give up is what the Germans would call a Wahnsinn. It's sort of a milder form of verrückt, which you're not really allowed to say in Germany. Verrückt means crazy. I mean, like really crazy, like verrückt. Your your head is turned around 180 degrees, not 360 degrees, as Annalena Baerbock would say, but 180 degrees. Okay. Now, Wahnsinn is just complete foolishness. Okay. So everybody's looking on at Trump. And I would just reiterate again that Trump not only has no predictability to him, but he's got a bunch of sycophants who say, "Oh, well, we're worried about running out of ammunition, but you say you can rely on Mossad and the Israelis, and it's only going to be a little bit. What does the CIA say about that? Oh, there is no CIA here at the table. Oh, what about the National Intelligence Director? Oh, no, she's fired. So, all right, let's go. Worth trying." So it's really crazy, and the same thing obtains, of course, with respect to Ukraine, as though it's a rudderless kind of ship, and the leaders of other countries, Iran, Russia, China, have to be quite aware that this rudderless ship could do a lot of damage if it's not contained, if it's not treated in a gingerly fashion. And so I come back to that notion that the U.S. is losing, but since the person in charge is not reliable, is mercurial, changes his mind, every day or maybe every hour, they got to be really careful. This means a lot in the Ukraine situation.
Yeah, well, Larry, back to you about the where you wanted to continue.
Well, yeah. So this assassination plot. So let me take you back. I wrote about this back in November of 2024, and so the Department of Justice put out this thing saying, "Oh, Farhad Shakiri, 51 of Iran. He tried to organize an assassination plot of Jews, but this was all tied into, the attempted assassination of Trump." Well, what we learned was Shakiri came to the United States as like an 8-year-old child. Then he got jammed up in a robbery charge, did 14 years in prison in New York, made some friends while in prison, gets out, and is deported. We don't know initially his place of deportment, but next time he shows up, he's in Sri Lanka. And what's he doing in Sri Lanka? Well, he's trying to move a load of heroin. And the Sri Lankan police arrest him. And then what happens next? He gets released. What? Did he pay off the police? No, what happened? DEA went in and made him an offer he couldn't refuse. They say, "Hey, Shakiri, here's the deal, buddy. You start working for Team America, and you work with us and our partners here, the CIA, and you'll be taken care of. Plus, you're not going to go to jail and get a boyfriend named Bubba." So he said, "Hey, sounds like a great idea. I don't want to go back." So next thing you know, he shows up in Iran and gets a job as an oil worker. Why does an Afghan go to Iran? Just, because I guess better opportunities. And then he claims that Iranian intelligence officers, they get in touch with him and say, IRGC members, they want him to put together an assassination plot in the United States. So what does he do? Well, he calls up two of his former cellmates, Carlisle Rivera, who is known as Pop, 49-year-old Brooklyn, New Yorker, and a guy named Jonathan Lodeholt, 36, of Staten Island, and basically recruits them. "Hey, we got this guy. We want to get him killed," and offer to pass money. This is entirely a setup. This was entirely to create a narrative. And now Israel, at a time when they need the United States to continue the war with Iran, are trying to create the same bullshit narrative.
Yeah, and I want to show you, Ray, Trump's response to this. I won't play the video, but he says he left instructions should Iran assassinate him that he said that he would bomb them to hell in a way that has never been seen before. That was the instructions he had left. That's the it's it seems almost I don't even know what word to put behind it in terms of why the United States would be talking like this now. But your thoughts?
Well, it's kind of banal and puerile. What are we going to do? Nuke them? Well, I mean, I wish I could say that's ridiculous, but no one can say anything is ridiculous when you're talking about Trump. That's why a lot of us are on tenterhooks. I mean, it makes no sense, but it made no sense to attack Iran, for God's sake. And if Trump were so easily persuaded to do that by the Israelis and their, as Joe Kent says, their acolytes in Washington, what might he be tempted or encouraged to do now? There's one other aspect that I'd like to raise just to learn a little bit from you all. I just saw a report that Maersk, the big Danish transportation agency, which runs all these great big boats, ships and stuff, that they're going through the Suez Canal to deliver stuff through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, through the Red Sea, up until I assume Israel or whatever, okay? Now, that's the next challenge. What will the Houthis, who pretty much control the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, what are they going to do? They say, oh, masks, please. You're Danish? Oh, Danish? The Danish we love Danish, so come on in here. I don't think so. So here's the next choke point, I think. Will they be allowed in to resupply Israel and others with desperately needed oil and other goods? What do you think, Larry? That gives me pause. That would be one way that that this thing could flare up once again in a different spot, but just as powerfully.
Well, yeah, Iran has already mentioned that if the United States continues attacks, its next two options on its let's call it its Chinese menu of responses includes having the Houthis shut down the Bab el-Mandab Strait, and then also withdrawing from the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty. But did I hear you right? Did they say that the ship was going to go through the Panama Canal and then through?
No, I'm sorry. If I said Panama, I meant Suez.
Oh, the Suez, yeah. Yeah, so if they're coming through Suez to go through the Bab el-Mandab, what was their final destination? Do we know?
It was not specified in what I saw report. It was just
So the big concern for the Saudis would be I think the port's called Yanbu, that's on the Red Sea, and if the Houthis decide to start attacking Yanbu and shutting that down, then that shuts down a major source of oil coming out still trickling onto the world stage.
Right.
I think some of that's been coming out of Saudi and making its way to Europe, keeping them afloat. But it is the Iranians made it very clear they are prepared to go all the way to get the Strait of the Red Sea shut down, close the Bab el-Mandab, and also make sure that no ships go through the Suez Canal.